the Tsar, his wife, their son Alexei, their 4 daughters, Olga,
Oh.
Tatiana,
Oh, come on. Don't show me the
Maria,
pictures.
and Anastasia, as well as 4 servants, and executed them all.
Oh my, dude, I hate hearing that, dude. Alright, boys. Russian Revolution. This was actually a suggestion by me anyway, so... Bridgman images, okay. I shall never agree to a representative form of government because I consider it harmful to the people whom God has entrusted to my care.
In 1894,
Interesting quote, Nicholas, because you were regarded as a very bad ruler. We're already 22 seconds into the video, and whew, we already have things to say. I don't want to say nothing yet, but...
Nicholas II became ruler of a Russian empire that stretched from the Baltic to the Pacific, inhabited by 126 million people from 194 ethnic groups. It was a country in which workers and peasants lived in poverty and hardship, while Russia's elite, its imperial family and aristocracy, lived lives of gilded luxury.
So basically, nothing has changed. No, but seriously though, I wouldn't say that nothing has changed. The problem is that even though Putin is literally like basically czar of sorts, which makes me even wonder who's gonna be his successor when he dies. The problem is that when Russia tried to be a part of the West after the fall of the Soviet Union and they were rejected, that was when Putin was like, okay, yeah, it looks like I gotta do things by myself and my way. So because of that, you know, even though Russia's not communist anymore, he's that's the thing. Oh, I've actually heard something about Russia lately. I'm gonna wait though, but we're gonna wait because we're a minute into the video.
There was a long history of struggle in Russia against the injustices of the system. And in 1905, a revolution forced the Tsar to allow the creation of a State Duma, or National Assembly. But its power was limited, and the compromise pleased neither the Tsar nor the reformers. In 1914, this divided empire was plunged into fresh crisis by World War.
What is all this talk What is all this talk about this people's confidence? Let the people
World War I was a disaster for Tsarist Russia. At the front,
Is that a real image?
the country suffered a series of devastating defeats, while at home there were food shortages and economic chaos. The Tsar was held responsible for the crisis. After all, he was now the army's commander-in-chief, and he was standing in the way of government reform. His German-born wife, Empress Alexandra, was even thought to be supporting Germany.
Right, so I actually knew someone who was like a German Russian or something like that. This was actually my ex. Yeah, this was actually my ex. But she was like her parents knew how to speak Russian. They were born in Kazakhstan. But she explained to me that Catherine the Great, when she brought those Germans over to the Russian Empire, she said that that they were only allowed, well, from her family anyways, her family were only allowed to like breed with other Germans. They couldn't breed with Russians, despite the fact that they like lived in Russia for like a long time, or the Russian Empire, I should say, and the fact that they literally could like speak Russian and everything. And in fact, like when the Russian Empire was replaced with the Soviet Union, like our family still lived in the Soviet Union. Um, but they live in Germany now, so that's very interesting.
while the entire family was said to have fallen under the spell of a Siberian mystic and faith healer, Grigory Rasputin. In December 1916, Rasputin was murdered by Russian aristocrats, possibly with the help of British secret agents, both groups determined to end his influence over the Tsar.
Britain, what are you doing, Britain? What are you doing, Britain?
But in the eyes of many, the damage had already been done.
Rasputin was literally just a scapegoat. I don't care what anyone says. The dude was honestly innocent. Like he was literally just a scapegoat used as a means of copium for why Russia was losing the war. Like I don't really think Rasputin was doing anything bad. Do I think that he was going around boinking a lot of people? Most likely, because let's be real, that's just what people with that kind of power did. Situation serious. There's anarchy in the capital. Government paralyzed chaos shooting the street.
On the 23rd of February 1917, thousands of women took to the streets of the Russian capital, Petrograd, to mark International Women's Day and protest over bread shortages. The next day, they were joined on the streets by workers and students carrying placards that read, "Down with the Tsar." Troops ordered to put down the disorder mutinied and joined the protesters instead. Tsarist officials were
That's funny, bro.
arrested. Prisons and police stations were attacked. Emblems of Tsarist rule smashed and burned. The government had lost control of the capital.
Speaking of emblems of Tsarist rule, you know what? I'm not gonna say that yet. I have a lot to say, but we're only 3 minutes in. So
The Tsar was told by his ministers that order could only be restored and Russia saved from military defeat if he gave up power. So, on the 2nd of March, Nicholas agreed to abdicate. In just 10 days, 300 years of Romanov rule had come to an end.
no, that's just like how like 3 years ago, my country was a Commonwealth realm, and literally like the government had like full control of parliament, and they knew damn well that the people would not abolish the monarchy. Like, bro, like like in Barbados, like my country, like though, like we were like really, really hell bent on keeping the monarchy. Like, dude, our support for the monarchy was just like freaking. Every single time we would hear that someone from the royal family was visiting, the entire country would be in rave. Everybody would be excited. Everybody would be talking about it. Everybody would be getting ready to see whoever the royal family was. Like everybody was stoked. There was a huge surge of pride. You know what I mean? And freaking stupid left wing government. Unfortunately, because the previous government before that was like bad, so everybody just voted them out and voted this other government in that was way more left wing, and they realized, oh, we have control of the parliament now. Oh, we control everything now. Okay, let's just vote to abolish the monarchy, and literally just like that, in a span of like like they announced it in like a 2020, I think, and then 2021 they just made a vote. In fact, I actually was watching like the local news down there, and one of the senators like straight up quit. He like straight up resigned because he was like, "This is so undemocratic," and he literally said there was literally no option to vote no on the ballot. And the people didn't get to vote, by the way. It was just parliament, just a couple of people in parliament who were able to vote, and just like that, and almost 400 years of I forgot. Uh, 400 years of Windsor family rule, I think. Was it the Windsor family? I think the Windsors are the one who are currently in power now. But basically, almost 400 years of, you know, being ruled from the monarch of Britain just went away just like that. Like literally just like that. I'm like, what the heck? It was so ridiculous.
The February Revolution had been remarkably swift and bloodless, and hopes were now high for the creation of a more democratic, more just Russian state. Members of the State Duma, the National Assembly, had formed a provisional government, which was to hold power until a constituent assembly was elected, to give Russia a new constitution. But in reality, the provisional government shared power with the Petrograd Soviet, a council elected by workers and soldiers that controlled the capital's troops, transport, and communications.
Now that this has been pointed out, it really makes me think, like, dude, what really like defines government, right? Like, who really has control of a country? You know how everyone just agrees that money has value, like paper money, but it doesn't really have any value? Like, it really makes me wonder. Like, I know everything is very like centralized today, and everything is very like, organized today, but it really makes me wonder. Hypothetically speaking, if I had enough influence, me and a bunch of other people per se, and I go to, I don't know, some country, some country, and I have enough influence to like set up my own council, like, like the Soviet, because Soviet translates council in English. I think everyone watching this should know that. I shouldn't really need to say that. Or something like that, or some form, some body that could rival the current government of said country. Like, would I be the legit government if I have enough power to rival the current so-called government in power right now? You know what I mean? Like, because remember, it's kind of like how everyone just agrees that, oh, money has value, but money doesn't really have value, right? I don't know. I feel like the world today that we're in is just we live in a very facade world that could easily be shattered. And the only reason why it hasn't been shattered is because of nuclear weapons, quite frankly.
The Petrograd Soviet, dominated by the Socialist Revolutionary Party and the Marxist Menshevik Party, was much more radical than the provisional government. Yet it supported the government's decision to continue the war and honor the commitments that Russia had made to the Allies. It was a fateful decision that ultimately played into the hands of one of the smaller parties, the Bolsheviks. Their leader, Vladimir Lenin, recently returned from 16 years in exile, bitterly opposed the imperialist war. He also demanded the immediate redistribution of land, from rich landowners to peasants, and the transfer of power from the bourgeois provisional government to the people's soviets or councils that were springing up across Russia. The Bolshevik program was summed up in a simple slogan: bread, peace, and land. And as Russia's economic and military crisis deepened, its appeal to the masses grew and grew.
No support for the provisional government.
In June, a new Russian military offensive ended in disaster, with 400,000 Russian casualties, massive desertions, and the collapse of army morale and discipline. In July, soldiers and sailors in Petrograd mutinied. They were joined in the streets by workers with Bolshevik support. But troops loyal to the provisional government opened fire on the protesters and dispersed the crowds. A police crackdown followed, leading to the arrest of several Bolshevik leaders, including Leon Trotsky, while Lenin, with the help of Joseph Stalin, fled to Finland, traveling with forged papers under the name of Konstantin Ivanov.
Dude, blows my mind how Trotsky and Stalin were like such great friends. Well, friends would be a strong word, now that I think about it. But it really blows my mind how much they cooperated with each other. And eventually Stalin went to assassinate Trotsky, dude. But then again, this is Stalin we're talking about, so I shouldn't even be surprised. This dude literally killed so many people that he casually talked to so many times, so...
A socialist and stirring orator named Alexander Kerensky became Russia's new prime minister.
This guy was the reason why the Soviet Union was able... Well, no. Because the Soviet Union was formed after the Russian Civil War. But this guy was the reason why the Bolsheviks were able to take power. This guy was horrible. This guy was trash. Like, no one liked this guy. Literally, no one liked this guy. I actually explained this in one of my other Russian reaction videos. But since this is the Russian Revolution, you know, I might as well just bring this up here because if you haven't heard, when this guy was in power, and the Bolsheviks were coming to take over the government, they could have been stopped. The Bolsheviks didn't really have any number. And I'm sure if you watch Oversimplify's video of the Russian Revolution, where Oversimplify pointed out how there was no bloodshed when the Bolsheviks were taking over, a lot of it was due to the fact that people just wanted Kerensky gone. And when Kerensky actually sent the message for help, it was received by the soldiers, and they could have responded to it. But everyone really hated this guy, that no one responded to it. Like, people, like, they literally just waited until the Bolsheviks took over, and then they were like, okay, now we're actually going to do something about this, because we also don't like the Bolsheviks.
And was hailed as the man who would save Russia from anarchy.
General Kornilov, he was an interesting figure.
The army's commander-in-chief, General Kornilov, believed Russia's war effort was being undermined by chaos at home and deliberately sabotaged by men like Lenin, whom he declared a German spy.
Was he really wrong, though? Because Germany literally sent Lenin to Russia to cause chaos, so...
So in August, he ordered his men to march on Petrograd to restore order. Bolsheviks played a leading role in the city's defense against this attempted military coup. Their most brilliant organizer, Leon Trotsky, was released from prison and sent armed Bolshevik militias, the Red Guards, to defend key points in the city. Strikes by railway workers, many of them Bolshevik supporters, prevented Kornilov from moving his men by rail, and his soldiers began to switch sides, or simply go home. The Kornilov affair cast the Bolsheviks as saviors of the revolution. And by the end of September, they'd gained a majority in the Petrograd Soviet. In October, Lenin decided the time had come. He secretly returned from Finland to Petrograd and began preparing to seize power.
It would be naive to wait for a formal majority for the Bolsheviks. No revolution ever waits for that.
On the 25th of October, the Bolsheviks made their move. Red Guards and loyal troops seized key points around the capital, and that night they stormed the provisional government's headquarters at the Winter Palace, an event later immortalized by Bolshevik propaganda and the great Soviet filmmaker Sergei Eisenstein. Kerensky fled the city at the last moment, narrowly avoiding capture. And the next day, at the Second All-Russian Congress of Soviets, Lenin announced the overthrow of the provisional government.
And oh boy, I don't know, dude. I really don't believe Russia needed to go communist. Look, I've watched some communist people on YouTube where they provide solid evidence on why communism wasn't really as bad as you think, and they actually show the good of communism, and they actually like highlight the bad that capitalism is doing to our current society now. They were like, okay, why does no one not talk about that, right? Because they were like, an argument that I saw, a very common argument, I was like, okay, that's actually a pretty good point, was like the homeless crisis, right? I don't really ever think homelessness was a problem in the Soviet Union or the communist world in Eastern Europe, right? I could be wrong about that. I don't really think so. Not only that, but the wealth inequality in America is horrible. I don't really think anyone ever used that argument, but thinking about it now, the wealth inequality in America was just like really bad. Actually, now that I think about it, I think someone have used that argument before to pinpoint the bads of capitalism. And they were like, well, if people could sit here and tolerate that, why does everyone bash communism? Oh, because a lot of people died. You know, like you have millions of people dying from capitalistic healthcare systems, you know, in America specifically, due to insurance, right? I'm like, that's not a bad take. That's not a bad take. But I just don't really think Russia really needed to go communist. I mean, I just think like every single unfortunate event, like, just simply happened to transpire. Because I will always say this, and I'll always say this till the day that I die. Russia was trying to industrialize. Russia probably would have had to industrialize. There's no way Russia would just sit there and not industrialize, especially with all of Europe industrializing. Because if you look at Russian history, the Russian Empire was always trying to like keep up with Western Europe, especially, right? And you can't tell me that's not true. Russia has always, like, I mean, they took a lot of inspiration from Western Europe. So there's no way the Russian Empire would see Western Europe industrializing, getting more and more industry and think to themselves, whatever. No, no. Think about it. This is why I said the 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 Bolshevik Revolution didn't need to happen. Russia didn't need to go communist. Russia could have easily stayed a monarchy. I mean, the only issue was that Russia just had a bad monarch at the time, frankly speaking.
The following months saw the Bolsheviks consolidate their hold on power, while fighting a brutal civil war against counter-revolutionary or White Russian forces who had foreign support. Some whites hoped to put Tsar Nicholas back on the throne. After his abdication, Nicholas and his family had been held under guard at Tsarskoye Selo, outside Petrograd, where they occupied themselves with gardening and other diversions.
That's actually quite humble. That's actually really humble. I'm not gonna lie, that's actually kind of humble. Especially when you find out how the Tsar died.
In summer 1917, the family was sent to Tobolsk in Siberia, where they lived under house arrest in the governor's mansion. The following spring, the Bolsheviks had the family moved to Yekaterinburg. In July 1918, as white forces approached the city, Bolshevik soldiers gathered the whole family in a cellar. The Tsar, his wife, their son Alexei, their 4 daughters, Olga, Tatiana, Maria,
Oh, come on, don't show me the pictures.
and Anastasia, as well as 4 servants, and executed them all.
Oh my, dude, I hate hearing that, dude.
Russia's civil war.
Dude. Oh, it's so sad, dude. Like, I, I hear so many times how the Tsar was executed, but every time I hear it again, I'm like, oh my gosh, it is actually really sad. Because I know the details of it. Like, they didn't just shoot them. They literally bayoneted them afterwards. It's so freaking gruesome.
Was one of the 20th century's most devastating events. An estimated 2 million soldiers lost their lives, while a typhus epidemic and famine claimed the lives of a further 9 million civilians.
Bloody hell.
By the end of 1921, the Bolsheviks had emerged victorious, and under Lenin's determined and uncompromising leadership, set about building a new socialist order. The Soviet Union, created in 1922, emerged as a world superpower following the defeat of Nazi Germany in World War II. But it would always remain a single-party state, where all opposition or dissent was ruthlessly suppressed. Those brief hopes.
I mean, that's kind of not really a communist state. Because communism is like what? You need other parties to, I mean, they practice communist ideals, so I guess you could say that was communism, but I don't want to sound like those people who say communism have never been tried before, bro. But no, because it was practice. Communism was practice in the Soviet Union. That is 100% fact. But I'm just saying, like, is that really communism if it's just a one-party state? Because in the West, yes, but when you actually look at the real definition of communism, is that really like communism? Like, I don't know.
For Russian democracy that flowered amid the euphoria of the February Revolution were extinguished by the Bolshevik October Revolution and put beyond reach for decades to come. Bridgman Images are the leading supplier of art, culture, and historic images and footage. Representing many of the world's finest museums, collections, and artists, their experts are ready to help with research and copyright for projects.
Alright, so video is over. Banger, another banger by Epic is Street TV. I didn't get to say what I wanted to say, but we're gonna react to the other Russian Revolution video. I think Epic TV has 2 Russian Revolution videos. I gotta check it out. If it's like the repeat of the first one, whatever. I just won't react to that. But I just saw this one. I was like, okay, I'm gonna react to this one first. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, make sure that you subscribe. If you have any suggestions, just comment the suggestion down below. Don't forget to like the video as well, you know. Helps the channel stay on the YouTube algorithm. And stay tuned for more. Thank you for watching.